Alright, sounds good. I think we're all set. Well, not just yet. We're gonna do a quick sound check here. Let's go ahead and hop into the game really quickly to make sure everything's good. This is just about the only bit of plot that you need to know about the entire game. Sure does explain a lot, doesn't it? So I hope you're all having a lovely evening, and or morning, afternoon, night, whatever it happens to be in your time zone. Personally, it is 3:32 a.m. right now on the west coast of the United States. Go ahead and pull out my foot splits there. And this is Frog's Adventures 2: The Lost Wand. Welcome, welcome. This is a rather fast-paced run, I want to say. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with it. Hopefully I'll be able to fit in everything I want to talk about. Right off the bat, I'm gonna go ahead and explain that every input that you see is one hop. So one press of the D-pad, a single hop in any direction. Keep that in mind as we peruse these following 17 levels. And here we go in 3, 2, 1. Gonna mash L and then A and L and we'll get started. So really quick plot summary is Frogger's homeland, Firefly Swamp, has come under a bit of a siege, per se. In that, excuse me while I mash B. Certain elements of the magic world have flowed over into the world of Firefly Swamp. So what we're doing right now is retrieving the Eternity Wand shards, which you saw explode in that cutscene. There are 5 shards of the Eternity Wand. The first one is fire, so we're currently on our quest to retrieve the fire shard. We have been sent on this quest by a magician who claims his name is Hocus, and his brother Pocus, as he tells it to us, is being a rather nefarious brat. And so we have to retrieve the Eternity Wand shards, which the reason that the Eternity Wand exploded, safety save right there, is because Pocus just wasn't ready for the power it gave him, and it turned him evil. So right now, we are retrieving the 5 shards of the Eternity Wand. Fire, Ice, Light. I believe the 4th one is Darkness, just straight up Darkness. And the 5th one is a Machine Shard. And so we are going through 5 themed worlds of each type of shard. First one is a jungle theme, because jungle, fire, I guess that makes sense. And this level is called Trampoland. That's the only time you're going to see trampolines in this entire game. One great thing about this game is that every level has its own unique theme. And very rarely do you see sprites reused in other levels. Anyway, here's our first boss fight. This is Dozy Dragon. And he is trying to sleep, but these Uzak birds are attempting to wake him up, so we have to use our tongue and knock him out before they start squawking. It may look simple right now, but pretty soon it's gonna really pick up. We have to let this dragon sleep for about 90 seconds. If all goes well, hopefully I won't wake him up by accidentally tonguing him, because that can happen. Another thing to note is that if you're even 1 frame too early with any of your inputs, your input will get straight up eaten. And that's no good. Like right there, twice I've tried to turn around and tongue too quickly, so you have to be a bit careful. And that guy's gonna squawk for a couple frames, that's fine. You only lose as many frames as they squawk for. So losing just a couple of frames there is perfectly fine. And we're gonna find out as soon as this fight is over that this dragon was not a dragon at all, but a salamander who got transformed into a dragon via the magic of the fire shard. And so now we're in the ice world, where we will retrieve the ice shard, believe it or not. And you can just feel the Christmas spirit dripping off of these snowmen, by the way. Good stuff. So right here's a relatively new skip, where we actually get an early cycle on these floating platforms. If we time it right, we'll be able to hop over to this one and already be on our way. This saves about 14 seconds. Every level in this game is cycle-based, and most of the time the cycles will be spawn timers. So every time you die or start a stage, the cycles start over again. So now we're going to visit a relatively cold place once again. Traversing the minecarts. Right there I do a bit of a skip that saves 7 seconds as well. There are a lot of very minute time saves that add up over the course of the run. Unfortunately, this one is half auto-scroller. However, there are some very tight tricks that allow you to skip ahead on those cycles, just ever so slightly. On that switch. And we gotta wait some more. Bam. Alright, here we go. This introduces crumbling tiles. Nice cycle. And we have a bit of an on-rails scroller right here. You don't have to touch the bottom cart at all for either of these two auto-scrollers, strangely enough. I'm gonna go for some swag up here, in which I grab every single droplet, as well as the bonus card. Now let me go ahead and explain droplets and bonus cards. Once you collect 20 of these droplets, you will receive an extra life. Missed one, but I can do a backup right here. Ah, I missed the card. So those cards actually allow you to access a bonus area in the game. There are 4 of those cards in each level, and they are required for 100%, which has never been run, by the way. So if you want a free world record, feel free to pick up this game and run 100%. We'll skip right there. Very dangerous, but we made it just fine. So I'm turning left and right with the L and R buttons, by the way. And you super hop with A, and you use your tongue with B. And I have to remember right here to press A instead of B. Right here. Because, I kid you not, I lost a PB pace run, to pressing B right there instead of A. And that was barely a week ago. We're gonna come up on the second boss fight, called Frostbite. Say that 3 times fast. So this guy, once again, is a bit of an auto-scroller. You can speed him up a little bit by catching his final cycle on each phase a little bit early. It's not very easy, but I'll give it a shot. So if you allow one bomb to explode while it's sitting on top of the ice like this, it's okay. It'll just fracture the ice a little bit. But you can't let any more than that explode while you're on the ice throughout this fight. So now that phase 1 is down, he's gonna start throwing 2 bombs at a time. And you also have to be very careful, because if you fall down the pit, you have to start the entire fight over again. looking good. Alright, so right now, by the way, we're using the magic of the fire shard against the ice shard enemy. So now we're hitting phase 3. Guess what he does in phase 3? He throws 3 bombs. Once again, we gotta do this 6 times in a row without falling down the ice or allowing more than 1 bomb to explode. The bomb spawns are not random, they are all predetermined. And one thing to note is that there's actually a refight mode in this game, which is kind of like a hard mode boss battle rush. There you go, perfect fight. Oh yeah, rip headphone users, by the way. But as I was saying, the boss rush mode has completely different patterns for the bombs. And this has been Frostbite, directed by Michael Bay. If it drops on top of you, you do have a few frames in which to hop out of the way. However, if you do touch a bomb or allow one to drop on top of you, it's an instant death, and you have to start the whole fight over again. This is my personally least favorite world because there are a lot of really weird and tight cycles and tricks, and I wouldn't be surprised if my first death happens in this world. We are currently on our quest to retrieve the light shard, which is once again at the end of the 2 levels after you defeat a boss. For some reason this was not the fire shard, and I don't know why. It literally makes no sense why we're currently retrieving the light shard and not the fire shard. I will never cease to be perplexed by this. By the way, if it looks like I ought to be able to hop over anything you see in the game, you can't. Free life you're not supposed to be able to pick up right there. But this game is programmed so that you're constantly close to the ground, so you can't really leap over anything in this game. All you can do is avoid it. Pyrotechnics, woo! So coming up after the next series of platforming is going to be a very tight trick that you only have a few frames to execute properly, and I'll see if I can get it. It's not guaranteed. If I do die here though, there's a much more consistent way to get this trick. And we got it, let's go. So that's an example of how the grid-based system works in this game. It's very finicky, very wonky, and there's actually an excellent example of how wonky it gets in this level. I'll let you know when I come to it. But the way it works is if you leap into the air, you'll get snapped to the grid immediately. But if you just regular hop over to a tile, it will not snap you to the grid right away. So essentially what that means is that if you leave the ground, you'll get snapped to the proper positioning in the grid, but for some reason when you just regular hop, the game just assumes that you're in the correct position and won't actually check to make sure you're out of danger before moving on. And the way that can be a problem is in the case of moving platforms, such as these. Because once you leave this moving platform, you will snap to the location on the grid that's required for you to be properly positioned in order to land squarely on the ground. However, if you simply hop off, you will remain technically on that platform until you leave it, which will cause some pretty unfortunate hitbox shenanigans to occur halfway through this level. However, there is a strat to minimize the damage, which I will be using. Right, here's some cycles we gotta hit. Nice. That was perfect. And check out these guys. They're pretty cool. And by that I mean they're pretty hot. So, at the end of this elevator, I suppose you could call it, this trolley, whatever you want to call it, there is this area, which is very, very dangerous. These fire hitboxes are way bigger than they look, so right here I'm actually going to super hop. This snaps me through the grid and prevents me from being dragged into the flame. That was a run killer for a very long time until I figured that strat out. And we're almost done with the level. Coming up is the biggest instance of RNG in the entire game, so get out your bless RNGs, please. We're gonna need them. Every single one of them. Just, if you have a few spare bless RNGs in your attic, go ahead and dig them out now. Chuck them into the chat, and we'll be good to go. This is Fiery Guardian. The location in which the light shard spawns is completely random. That was a really good spawn. Probably perfect RNG right there. But yeah, this guy is insane at his aim. And we're gonna have to get out of here, because I don't see the shard. Oh, there it is. Okay, not bad. But yeah, remember those wonky platforming physics I was talking about? You have to be very precise with your platforming to make this work, and that was probably the best Fiery Guardian I've ever had. Let's go. Alright, now we're headed on to the Haunted Island, where in which we shall encounter a lot of monks who seem to be acting rather spookily. These chomping flowers appear in almost every Frogger game. However, strangely, my main Frogger games, yes, I do speedrun other Frogger games, actually don't have those flowers. I'm gonna go ahead and focus a little bit right here, because it is very easy to miss input. Especially the number of inputs per second you actually have to press to play this game in the first place, much less quickly. Nice, gonna take a safety save right here. I almost didn't make that. We have to wait for a couple of rotations, unfortunately. Don't jinx it, don't worry. I've jinxed things many times in the past. I've also never realized that I can just straight up do that instead of pulling those platforms over. That was a live and unintentional rerouting. Let's go, me. Nice, dude. Alright, so coming up is the level with the 2. You'll know what I mean when I say 2. That was the 4 room. You notice the numerals IV on the wall. The room that I'm referencing has the numerals 2 on it, and I do not like that room. Neither does anyone else who runs this game. Which is one other person, Mr. Shasta. He's a cool dude. Check him out. However, he does have a bit of a strat that I use in this run as well, which allows you to use a visual cue for this room right up here. Once again, those moving platform physics I was talking about really work against you here. First try. That never happens. Once again, doing a little skip right here. There's my first unintentional death. And in this room of all rooms, so the last room I would have expected to die on, but that's okay. Like I said, everything is on a spawn timer. Here's the code. That is 0% RNG to get right. Some really cool movement coming up to avoid some ghosts. You might notice these clusters of 4 droplets. They really do give you 4 droplets, but they have no purpose in the speedrun. And honestly, they don't even count toward 100% either. Alright, so after this long and arduous series of super hops, I am going to show off what is perhaps my favorite strat in this entire level. Right here. Just hop on up. You don't need to bother with that puzzle. And these writings on the wall are supposed to tell you where to hop, but you can just follow the indentations on the ground there. Ba-ba-bum, bum, bum. Okay, and I'm gonna try a new strat. It may or may not work out, but as we're fighting death itself, 20,000 leagues above the sea, we are going to attempt to trick him into swiping multiple times in a row. Nice. I just discovered that trick earlier this week while I was preparing for another marathon of mine. Perfect. It's RNG whether he decides to swipe 2 or 3 times there, and it's also RNG where the light shard spawns. I'm not gonna go for anything too fancy here. Woo, Nelly. Alright, we're good. Oh yeah, seizure warning. Fortunately, I am streaming at 30 FPS, so that flashing light is minimized. But once again, cute cuddly squirrel. Nothing nefarious at all. Okay, here's Technopolis. Very, very tight and challenging skips. This is by far my least favorite level. Perfect right there. I died twice in my PB to that skip. So almost everything in this level will kill you in some manner or another. So I'm going to avoid that, hopefully. Again, some jank platforming. And you have to land on this gray space. If you land on the red, on those cars, you will die. You'll just straight up fall through the car and die. Toward the end of this level is some absolutely absurd platforming involving these conveyors. I'm actually going to focus for them because it is very challenging. Basically, I'm going to be doing this, but 12 more times. So I'm going to take this safety save because it's not worth losing. Easy every time. Coming up is our last normal level of the game. Technopolis. Sorry, Digital Dominion. We just completed Technopolis. And I always forget about that guy, but that's fine. There's some recent rerouting in this level that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. So a death is to be expected. That's perfectly fine. Nice. Aw, man. I didn't get the quick turn in time. That's okay. This actually sets up better for a cycle later on, if I die right there. But again, this is a very tricky level. And until recently, it's perfectly normal to die more than once on this stage. This eye is RNG. Fortunately, it didn't screw me over this time. I'm just gonna chill here, wait for this guy to come back. And we're not gonna rush this one. There we go. Safety strats. And we have to deactivate this eyeball by doing this. Which makes me jump 2 spaces. That is the A button. This super hop I'm doing. So coming up, I'm going to be doing a little bit of Simon Says. Fortunately, once again, there's 0 RNG involved unless you die. It's basically a predetermined seed that changes every time you die. Fortunately, we will not die, however. Unless I jinx myself by saying we won't, in which case I probably will. See? And that's really unfortunate because we start all the way back here. And that probably actually just killed PB, but that's fine. This level can be very mean sometimes. Also, that's a perfect example of how rude the hitboxes can be. This game is a sequel to another game that is very close to my heart, called Frog's Adventures Temple of the Frog. But for some reason they took out the good parts and put in bad parts in this game. Also, that death is to be expected as well, since things were not lined up properly. But it's okay, we have the strats. So here we go, we're on our way to recover the machine shard. And after this fight, we're actually going to find out that Hocus is not who we thought he was. 3, 2... 1, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. Nope, that's next. Excuse me. Just call me a soothsayer. And phase 2, commence. 1, 3, 5, 3, 2. Three, 4, 5, 3, 1, 2. Three, 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, 3. Please do not call that number. Tell them WinnerBit sent you. Not entirely sure why, Leo. But now we've treated the machine shard, and guess what? Hocus was Pocus the entire time. So he sends us off to the Magician's Realm. I'm gonna do this to get a little bit of a cutscene skip. Unfortunately, I was not quite fast enough with the cutscene skip, pressing L, to make this cycle, so I am gonna wait. This is an extremely intense level. With barely any checkpoints. That, for some reason, you can fail. You have like 2 frames to get that just right. I was not mashing properly just then, so I did end up failing it. However, once again, it puts the cycles in a favorable location, so you don't waste that much time. And here comes the final boss, right after I free the real Hocus. Now this boss fight, we used to think it was completely RNG, but I actually took a few hours out of my day and discovered that it was not. The only thing that's RNG about it is you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting a certain map, a certain card layout here, while you play match 3. And so what I'm going to do is lick a couple of specific cards to find out which pattern I have, and then we're just going to go ahead and go off of that. For example, this is pattern 2. So I already know where all of the cards are, and we don't have to suffer through the excruciatingly long and arduous battle animations. And that's the fight. That saves about 2 minutes. And this is less than a minute off a PB. Actually, barely 30 seconds off a PB. This was a really good run. I'm happy with this. Time ends on the droplet countdown. Time. 30:35. Excellent time. Very satisfied with this. Nice to be back. What? Oh no, not again. So the happy ending is that after Pocus is restored to his good self, Hocus takes him through a bunch of training and actually prepares him to wield his own Eternity Wand, because apparently there's more than one Eternity Wand. Video game logic. In any case, that was Frogger's Adventures 2: The Lost Wand. Thank you all for being here for this run. Make sure to stick around for 102 Dalmatians immediately after these credits and a short intermission. If you have any questions or comments about this run, or if you want to learn this run yourself, feel free to drop by the Frogger Speedrunning Discord. We're all cool people there, and we're happy to learn you the strats. Yes, I just used learn as a verb. Good job, me. Well, his last card. The last card was Pocus himself, so if you flip him over, he scrambles one row or column, and will chase after you for a while. You don't want that. But yeah, that was the game. So we'll be right back, and rejoin you with 102 Dalmatians for the Game Boy Color. Cheers!